Picture this. It's the early 1800s and scientists are putting on horrifying public shows where they shock corpses back to a kind of life. In front of completely stunned crowds, a dead criminal's jaw starts to move, his eye snaps open, and his arms and legs thrash around. These bizarre experiments, all thanks to a mysterious new force called electricity, inspired a young writer named Mary Shelley to create a legendary cautionary tale. It's a story about a brilliant but arrogant scientist who breathes a spark of being into the lifeless thing that lay at his feet. That story, of course, was Frankenstein, and it was meant as a warning. But what if I told you that we're doing it all over again? Not with simple sparks, but with biotechnology that can restart the cells and organs that have been dead for an hour, and with artificial intelligence that can simulate a person's consciousness with chilling accuracy. We've picked up the instruments of creation once more, and this time, the monster we might unleash isn't fiction. Section 1. The original sin of science. To really get where we're going, we have to know where we started. Our story begins in the late 18th century with an Italian doctor named Luigi Galvani. He found that if he touched a dead frog's legs with different metals, he could make them kick and twitch as if they were alive. Galvani was convinced he'd discovered animal electricity, a vital life force inside all living things. His nephew, Giovanni Aldini, was less of a scientist and more of a showman. He took these ideas and turned them into gruesome public theater. His most infamous show took place in London in 1803 with the body of a murderer named George Forster, fresh from the gallows. In front of a paying audience, Aldini applied electrified rods to the corpse. The Times newspaper reported that Forster's jaw began to quiver, his facial muscles were horribly contorted, and one eye actually opened. As the experiment went on, his right hand rose and clenched, and his legs started moving, making some people think the wretched man was on the eve of being restored to life. A few years later, in 1818, the Scottish chemist Andrew Ure did a similar experiment on another executed murderer, making the man's chest heave like he was breathing. These were shocking, terrifying displays that blurred the very line between life and death. And even though scientists knew they were just causing muscle spasms, not actually bringing people back, the public's imagination ran wild. This was the world Mary Shelley was living in, a world of radical new science, where brilliant men truly believed they were about to master the secrets of creation. She heard these stories, and while there's no direct proof she saw Aldini's shows, she was absolutely aware of them. In her 1831 preface to Frankenstein, she directly mentions galvanism as an inspiration, writing about conversations that questioned if a corpse could be reanimated, noting that galvanism had given token of such things. Her novel wasn't just a monster story, it was a direct shot at the scientific ambition of her era, a timeless warning against chasing knowledge without wisdom. Section 2. The Bridge from Sparks to Software. Just like the scientists in the 1800s pushed the limits of life and death with electricity, today's researchers are doing the exact same thing, but with tools that are worlds more powerful. They've swapped the voltaic pile for the perfusion pump and the algorithm. The core ambition to reverse the finality of death hasn't changed one bit. But the modern methods are so incredibly sophisticated, they make Aldini's work look like a child's toy. And they force us to ask the same question that haunted Victor Frankenstein. Just because we can do something, does that mean we should? Section 3. The Ghost in the Machine, Reviving the Body. For all of human history, death has been a one-way street, a final, irreversible event. The moment the heart stops, a chemical cascade kicks off, destroying the body's cells and organs within minutes. But what if you could stop that cascade, or even reverse it. In 2022, a team of scientists at Yale University announced a breakthrough that sent shockwaves through the medical world. They took pigs that had been dead for a full hour and hooked them up to a new system they invented called OrganEx. This machine pumps a custom-designed cell-protective fluid through the entire body, basically a synthetic blood cocktail made to stop inflammation and halt the process of cell death. The results were mind-blowing. 6 hours after the treatment started, the team found that key cellular functions were active again in the pigs' hearts, livers, and kidneys. There was even evidence of electrical activity in the heart, which was able to contract again. One researcher, Zvonimir Verselya, said, "Under the microscope, it was difficult to tell the difference between a healthy organ and one which had been treated with OrganEx technology after death." Now, to be clear, the pigs were not brought back to life. There was no organized brain activity that would signal consciousness. But in a strange echo of Aldini's old experiments, the researchers were surprised to see spontaneous, involuntary muscle movements in the head and neck of the treated animals. It was a modern-day galvanism, but instead of just making dead limbs twitch, they had convinced the body's very cells not to die. As one scientist put it, things are not as dead as we previously presumed. This work was built on their earlier BrainX project from 2019, where they had partially revived the brains of pigs hours after they died, restoring metabolic activity and cellular function. It's like a biological reboot, bringing the hardware back online, even if the software of consciousness is long gone. If you find this blurring line between life and death as fascinating and terrifying as I do, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We're exploring the very code of life itself, and you won't want to miss what we uncover next. Section 4. The Digital Soul, Simulating the Mind. While one branch of science is rebooting the body's hardware, another is working to resurrect its software. This isn't about reanimating flesh and bone, but about recreating the mind. They call it digital resurrection, and a fast-growing industry known as grief tech is making it a reality. Using a person's digital footprint, all their texts, emails, photos, voice notes, and social media posts, companies can now train an AI to speak and act just like them. The end result is a digital ghost you can actually talk to. Companies like Storyfile and Hereafter AI let people create interactive AI-powered video avatars of themselves for their families to talk to after they're gone. In China, the industry is exploding, with services on e-commerce sites where for just a few $100s you can get a video clip of a resurrected relative saying a few words. The technology is getting scary realistic. It can copy texting styles, clone voices, and simulate a personality so well that it feels real. This isn't just a recording, it's a two-way conversation. The AI can answer new questions, creating the illusion of a real relationship that continues long after death. For some, it's a source of comfort, a way to handle the intense pain of loss. But these projects aren't bringing anyone back. They're just sophisticated mirrors reflecting our own data back at us. They are simulations, not souls. And as these simulations get more and more perfect, the line between a helpful tool and a dangerous delusion gets terrifyingly thin.
Section 5. The Frankenstein Complex, the Ethical Fallout. This is where we find ourselves right back in Victor Frankenstein's lab. We're so busy asking if we could that we're not stopping to ask if we should. The potential for psychological damage is huge. Does talking to a digital ghost actually help someone grieve, or does it trap them in a painful loop, making it impossible to move on? Psychologists worry it could get in the way of the natural grieving process, creating an emotional dependency on a fantasy. Then there's the problem of memory. Our memories of people we love are personal, emotional, and messy. AI deathbots risk overwriting these real human memories with what one expert called perfect false memory machines. A digital ghost doesn't have bad days. It's never angry. It's an idealized, sanitized version of a person. This isn't preserving a memory, it's replacing it. And what about consent? Can someone's digital self be used after they die without their permission? The tech is wide open for exploitation, from companies using these avatars for marketing to bad actors creating malicious deepfakes. Recognizing the danger, some places are starting to act. For example, a California bill regulating AI companion chatbots took effect in 2026, marking one of the first steps toward oversight. The danger today isn't a physical monster running loose, it's something much more subtle. It's the commercialization of our grief, the slow erosion of our real memories, and a world where millions of unregulated digital humans could exist without anyone's consent. It's a world where death is no longer the end, but a service you can subscribe to. We wrestle with these questions every day. So what do you think? Is this technology a gift for the grieving, or a Pandora's box we're being fools to open? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Conclusion. From the grotesque theater of Aldini's corpse shows to the quiet hum of a server farm running a digital ghost, our ambition hasn't changed. We are still obsessed with the power to cheat death, to breathe a spark of being into the lifeless. The question is no longer can we reanimate the dead, whether in flesh or in code. The real question is, have we learned anything in the 200 years since Victor Frankenstein ran in horror from his own creation? Or are we doomed to repeat his mistakes on a scale he could never have possibly imagined?